It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs and termites and stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Ed Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Ed Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576. Or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This is what conservation and repurposing is all about.
Welcome to Inside Track with Bruce Ash and Ed Wilkinson on the Live the Dream Media Network.
Hello, everyone, and a very pleasant good morning to you wherever you may be. Welcome to episode 36 of Inside Track. Bruce Ash and Ed Wilkinson coming to you today from the Live the Dream Media Studios in Marana, Arizona. We have another big Wednesday show for you today. Former EPA Chief of Staff Mandy Gunasekara, and in the second half of the show today, an amazing story about a 60-year-old cancer survivor who at age 60 decided he was going to become a college football player. Unbelievable story. Tom Green, we hope you will stay with us for the entire show today.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Live the Dream Media app or watching us on X, Facebook, or the other platforms out there. The first half of today's show is brought to you by our good friend Eric Rudin from Essential Pest Control. Call Essential to keep your home or business free from all sorts of pests, vermin, and weeds. Call them today at 886-3029. Essential Pest has been a great service partner for Bruce's company for many years, and he's taken care of my stuff as well. Just a great guy. And by the way, Bruce, we keep forgetting to give the studio number. Call us here at 520-771-5101 to talk to us, talk to our guests. We've got great stuff coming up. Before we get to our first guest, Mandy Gunasekara, and Bruce, thank you for pronouncing that before I had to try.
It's Mandy.
Yeah, Mandy. What did I say?
Mandy.
Oh, Mandy. Well, Bruce, go ahead.
But I want to share a couple of announcements, and I encourage our audience to support our good friend Christy Simone, who just left the studio after his show, who's running for Oro Valley Town Council. Get ready for real change in Oro Valley. Also, Ted Maxwell was our guest last week talking about RTA Next. Your ballots will be arriving shortly in the mail. I tried to cross town yesterday. I was just telling Eb this before the show started. It took me 45 minutes to get from downtown to Tanca Verde and Sabino Canyon. It's traffic's impossible in Tucson. No new taxes. Vote yes on RTA. Don't let your ballot sit on your kitchen table or drop in the trash. Vote yes on RTA Next.
Yeah, the two things you can't miss in Tucson is the heavy traffic and the heavy potholes.
Oh, and there is a huge hole that I keep hitting. It's a rut in the road. Somebody must have done like a cable, underground cable thing, and the thing's about 4 inches wide, but it's all the way across on Pima, just east of Swan. I hit it every time. I mean, my teeth jingle going through it.
We need to fill it with dirt and plant trees.
Whatever.
Yeah, hey, Bruce and I are very pleased to welcome today's first guest, former EPA Chief of Staff Mandy Gunasekara. She's an environmental attorney who served as Chief of Staff of the EPA during the first presidency of Donald Trump. A member of the Republican Party, Gunasekara was an advisor to Jim Inhofe during the 114th United States Congress.
A great man.
Hey, Mindy, are you there? There she is.
I'm here.
Hey, thanks for joining us. You have been a champion for some time about the importance of energy to our lives, both economically and politically, and the stability. You advocated for America's exit from the Paris Climate Accords. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, energy security is an inherent piece of the America First vision. And going back to when I worked for Senator Jim Inhofe back in the US Senate, he used to say the very same thing because energy is the lifeblood to the economy and everything is built on top of whatever that cost is. And in the United States of America, that cost doesn't need to be high for a number of reasons. One, we're blessed with an abundant amount of energy resources from coal, oil, natural gas to other ingenious ways to capture energy and use it. We also have amazing infrastructure and we also have innovative wherewithal to take these ideas and inject them into modern times to meet modern expectations, things like environmental protection and economic growth for all. So we know how to do that very, very well. And the Paris Climate Accord, going back to the first Trump administration, when there was a big fight around getting out of it, not because President Trump wanted to get out of it. He very clearly did. But there were a lot of people in the White House during the earlier years that were very much of this globalist mentality. I called them the Goldman Sachs crew. And he brought a number of them on board because he had done business with them and they're very good at business, but they weren't great at understanding the international dynamics that permeate the United Nations, NATO, and what we just saw on display at the World Economic Forum. And it's this bubbling up desire to go after the United States' success and to bring us down on this quote unquote level playing field that isn't as prosperous, innovative, or successful as we are in the United States. I understood that because I had a front row seat of the negotiations around the Paris Climate Accord when it was ultimately signed. And I also saw the antics that the Obama administration employed with the help of French foreign national leadership to try and subvert the role of the U.S. Senate, aka the American people's voice, in this climate treaty. And anyway, the president getting out of that was a really big, important step to shift the focus away from these blue sky approaches at the UN that really were designed to undercut American exceptionalism and to focus on getting things right in this country, whether it was expanding US oil and gas development, doing away with unnecessary burdensome regulations, or working with Congress to institute some of these really good ideas long term. So Paris, we don't talk about it a lot anymore because it wasn't a big fight this go round, but it was a huge important shift in the various dynamics where the president made very clear that he was putting the interests of the United States workers who had really gotten a back seat to some of the moral well-being, if you will, of the elite left that were going out and making these international agreements that did nothing to help the environment, but did everything to undercut the economic well-being of workers in Pennsylvania, Ohio, in places like I live in the deep south of Mississippi.
So to that end, America, Europe, and much of the world has been bringing about lies about ending fossil fuel, shutting down both coal and nuke plants in the United States. Our adversaries, like China, are plowing ahead and developing more coal plants as we speak. How did America allow this to happen? And what is Trump 2.0 going to do to get energy independence again?
Yeah, so we saw that on display day one of Trump round two. He wasted no time for a lot of reasons. We can get into that if you're interested. But nonetheless, he had a plan of action. He instituted the energy dominance agenda, and it part of it is realizing what you just alluded to, which is actual fact. China was the biggest beneficiary of the climate agenda that was being pushed by leftists, because the United States we would gut our own economic opportunities, and China would reap that benefit. That demand, whether economic or resource based, it didn't go away. It just percolated up somewhere else outside the environmental controls of the United States and outside of the economic benefit of the United States. So it repopulated in China, and they will sign all sorts of papers that say they are going to do XYZ when it comes to greenhouse gases. But the reality is they're not going to do any of it. And they aren't even doing anything today to control traditional pollution, things like particulate matter, ozone, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, things we've been successfully controlling in this country since the 1970s for decades. They don't do that now. So they would go ahead and sign a piece of paper, get all sorts of accolades from the United Nations that were pushing a globalist agenda designed to undercut US exceptionalism. Unfortunately, we had Democrat leadership, and the epitome of this was Joe Biden, who was willing to sell out the US economic well being because he bought into that globalist vision. And China was the biggest beneficiary because they got to absorb the economic benefit, and they would build power plants and new factories and all the things that go along with it, without any respect for efficiencies or environmental controls or even basic safety protocols. They would do that, and it's easier to create monetary value if you have a complete disregard for the rules of the road. China didn't care, so they were doing that. So for years, they were able to build up two new coal plants, is the equivalent capacity that they had announced for many years. Two new coal plants a week that China is still in the process of building. Now, President Trump, his energy dominance agenda, putting American interests first, it's totally undercutting China, because he's doing away with us buying their cheap solar panels, their cheap wind turbines, getting away from this green energy agenda, which, by the way, is mostly pushed and funded by foreign interests trying to undercut American exceptionalism, which is built on the energy resources we have here in this country: coal, oil, and natural gas. So President Trump has rejected that. He's focusing on what we have, what we know how to do well, which is to take traditional energy resources, deliver them to market, and let the American people innovate, create new jobs, and grow.
So that's interesting. I worked in a steel mill, a coal-fired steel mill, in 1977 in Detroit, Michigan. The amount of safety that they placed, the importance of safety they placed on that, and all the scrubbers to get rid of the particulates was incredible. The air coming out of the stacks was cleaner than the air going into the furnace to begin with. And that was back in 77. That's number one. Number two, as far as oil goes, these bastards have been lying to us. We've been running out of oil ever since it was discovered in Pennsylvania in 69? 59? We've been running. We were supposed to be out of oil 150 years ago, and we keep finding more and more in a more efficient way to do it. So,
Mandy, thanks for joining us this morning. I understand you attended law school at the University of Mississippi.
I did.
Correct. About 10 years ago, I visited Oxford and loved the town. We were there trying to buy the U.S. courthouse from a guy. Anyway, can you talk about the massive new oil and gas discoveries discovered in the Permian Basin and what that means to American energy independence?
Yeah, I think what it does is it gives additional teeth to the abundance mindset that President Trump has restored in the psyche of the American people. And the Permian Basin, we've known that there have been substantial resources for quite a time, for quite a long time. We didn't necessarily have the extraction technology necessary to efficiently extract it from a monetary perspective and from a technical perspective. Well, fast forward to the earlier, around 2010, a little bit before then, you really had the proliferation of horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, which really opened up these resources in an efficient way. And what that has done over the numerous years since, where we have expanded the use of this technology across the country, not just in the Permian Basin but elsewhere, is it has shifted the central force for oil and gas, but oil production, to the Western Hemisphere. Here in the United States, we are major players in the international front, and what that means for the everyday American citizen. You and I that are going to the pump, we're filling up our car, or we're paying electrical bills that are tied to an energy grid that either relies on natural gas or some degree of oil if you're up in the Northeast. What that means for us is that we in the United States are insulated from an inherently unstable international oil market. So it creates a barrier against all the shenanigans that occur, whether it's OPEC, OPEC plus playing with the numbers, whether it is Vladimir Putin trying to use his standing with energy resources to control the geopolitics of his region and elsewhere, whatever it may be. The United States discovery and, more importantly, development of technology to efficiently extract those resources really put us in a driver's seat, which is good for overall stability, but especially good for American consumers and the businesses that rely on access to inexpensive, reliable energy.
So that's a great point. I just filled up my car with 91 octane gasoline yesterday, actually Sunday at Costco, $2.99 a gallon. And just a year ago, I was paying about $4.25 a gallon, $4.50 a gallon at the same location. So, Manny, talk about how lower gasoline prices and lower gas heating costs, what it does for our economy and the budgets of families, not just to operate their cars, but as we saw during during the time of COVID, the cost of energy impacts nearly everything we consume. Talk about how Trump understands this, and Biden and Obama never got it, never will.
Okay, President Trump never forgets this reality. And the many times that I would go in and brief him, whether we're talking about the Paris Climate Accord or other energy policies, he would always come back to two main questions. One, how does this impact the American worker? And how does this help hardworking American families? That's almost verbatim to questions the president would constantly ask. So it's not just something he says occasionally, it is something that is at the forefront of his mind. And he wants to make sure that he makes life easier for the American people. And so this goes back to the overarching market of energy dynamics, the signals he's sending. He's telling the people who invest in new energy resources to go forth and drill, baby, drill. Ultimately, what that means for we, the consumers, we're spending less on the necessities of life. You cannot be a part of modern society here in this great country without having to pay for gasoline in your car or electricity in your house. And that's a good thing. And so the less people have to spend on that, the more expendable income they can spend elsewhere. And the reverse of this is it's really significant. If you look at families that are on low income or fixed income or in those categories, there's a study that is done every single year to see how energy costs impact their relative bottom line. And when energy costs get so expensive, they will actually forego meals. They will keep their homes at either very cold or very hot temperatures, or they will forego seeing the doctor and not take medicine as prescribed. There's all sorts of very dire consequences when energy prices go up, because paying for energy is just a fact of life. So when those costs go down, it means that Americans can afford that modern way of life, a healthy, stable home where they can provide meals and affiliated medication, but then they also have expendable income to spend elsewhere. I'm a mom with young kids. For me, this means that our budget extends to travel sports. That's a really big part of a lot of the American experience right now, and that is very expensive.
Yep.
So it means my son can get the new equipment, or we can go on that additional trip, or whatever it ultimately is. But there's a lot of tangible benefit, but also there's relationship benefit that is one of the reasons that American optimism has been on its way up since President Trump came in. It's those intangible things where when you free up budgets from being spent on the facts of life, whether it's energy costs or transportation from point A to point B, you can invest in some of those other things that are really wonderful for making family memories or creating those experiences for your children to grow up, prosper, and to be confident.
Before I turn you back over to Eb, I want to go back to something that you talked about, and you didn't have a chance to really fully define it. you talked about French operatives or French efforts that created the problems with U.S. energy policy for a number of years. Talk about that and talk about who was involved and what the impact was.
Yeah, the gentleman at the focus of this was Laurent Fabian. He was basically the Secretary of State of France during 2015, when the 2014, 2015, the lead up to and the signing of the Paris Climate Accord. He was working with U.S. State Department staff and political operatives from the then Obama administration to create an agreement, the Paris Agreement, and to write it.
Whoops. I think we've
Oops.
temporarily lost Mandy. Hopefully, Mandy will get right back to us.
Well, while Mandy's doing
and maybe
that,
maybe it was that French guy who just cut off her
yeah,
her internet connection. Hopefully, she'll be right back with us,
yeah, try and get her back.
Ab.
In the meantime, you know, one of the other things that people don't get yet, these modular nuclear reactors that are being built and going to be deployed, that's going to drive down energy costs substantially.
And we have not really invested in nuclear in 35 or 40 years.
Yeah.
And we've been shutting down plants all over the place. I know that our power rates are relatively stable in Arizona because we have the Palo Verde nuclear power station.
Right.
Our power costs in Southern California, where we have a home there, those rates have gone through the ceiling.
Oh, and here she is. Mandy, we're glad to see you're back. We got worried.
I thought
I'm sorry.
I thought that French dude, had control of the interweb and cut you off. Go ahead.
And we were just getting into, while we were waiting for you to get back on, talking about the modular nuclear reactors that are being built and how that's going to help drive down energy costs as well. But, energy doesn't just relate to oil and gas. Let's move on to the current debate on Greenland. That island has a tremendous natural resources. Why are our European allies and our adversaries so hell-bent on preventing American interest in getting rights to the resources there?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's these same people that would sign on to some of these international climate agreements. They just don't see the world as we do, which is a strong United States of America with a president that puts our interests first, which is actually good for the broader world and global stability. Now, at the World Economic Forum, you saw President Trump talked a lot about Greenland, and it's imperative that we get it from a national security perspective. He made that very, very clear. I think he also made it very clear that this isn't the United States of America versus NATO. It shouldn't be set up as that. This is the United States leaning into our role as that stabilizing force across the entire globe. And Greenland is absolutely a part of that. And then the third piece is access to those resources. It's got a number of quote unquote rare earth minerals. I always laugh when the president says there's no such things as rare earths. It's not, they aren't as rare as the name would denote, but nonetheless, that continent is full of all sorts of resources that would be very helpful to the continued expansion and development of U.S. energy that we don't only use here in our country, but we share with our allies abroad, which is very important for our European allies. So Greenland is really important for a number of different reasons. Nonetheless, when you go in there, President Trump, he's changing the narrative. He's changing the dynamic that makes the folks sitting over at the UN, the World Economic Forum, it makes them uncomfortable. And you're always going to have the naysayers, that really have a keep it in the ground mentality. They don't want any resources developed for a variety of reasons. Some of them really believe in this net zero future, which is the biggest lie, one of the biggest lies ever talked about seriously on any policy front. And some people really believe that, and they want to keep that, whether it's in the United States or Greenland or elsewhere. And those are the types of forces that we're ultimately dealing with and up against.
Almost kind of like those carbon credits.
Right.
So when the Venezuelan dictator was ousted from his country, domestic and international critics claimed the government was overturned for oil. Who might best run Iran's damaged oil and drilling refining industry if that regime falls?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that the United States built a lot of that infrastructure. It was a lot of our contractors that did that relative work from the various companies that have been engaged in that market for a very long time. I think if that fell by the wayside, they would be the ones that would be best suited to come in and make it work again. That's one of the things with President Trump that is so refreshing. He's not going to send a team of diplomats in that are ineffective and have no idea what they're talking about. He's going to send in men and women from U.S. oil and gas industries and companies to go in and see what the problem is, bring the tools to fix it, and then make those important energy systems start working for the global benefit. So those are the type of people, I don't know exactly who it would be, but those are the type of people that the President Trump would partner with and rely on to take any degraded infrastructure systems to build them back up so they're working once again.
Mandy, changing continents for a second from Venezuela and continuing to talk about Iran. Um, how long do you think it'll take Iran and Venezuela to recover if a revolution to take down the regimes in either of those countries is successful?
I don't think they would recover in the way that we previously saw, to where they were both subject to extreme either theology based or dictatorial based leadership. I think they could recover in a way that is similar to the prosperity of the West. And that's what they're on the cusp of. It's up to the people there ultimately to decide what type of leadership they let rise to the top. But I do think that with both of those internal revolutions, if you will, I'll just characterize it as that, going on right now, I think that from a global stability perspective, the president has such an amazing opportunity that he's already trying to seize and give the people an opportunity to take really negative, dark leadership in one way or the other and turn it into something that may not look exactly like what we have in the United States, but it's stable countries that we, as the United States of America, can work with and partner with, either from a commercial development perspective or from national global stability and a peace perspective, which is another really important priority of President Trump.
Before Eb gets us out to our commercial break, and we have to end our interview, Mandy, you worked at the EPA. You were the chief of staff there. Lots of regulations at the EPA have been changed or eliminated. The president has spoken about this widely. Many people think our environment and the economy is not safe with all these changes that have been made. You're somebody who's been on the inside. Do you think that we're in a safer world as a result of these regulations, which have been either changed or eliminated?
Yeah, we are. And for a number of reasons, you have to look at how the regulatory landscape was used in the last administration and the Obama administration. It wasn't used to effectuate environmental progress or protect vulnerable communities. It was used to control what types of technologies take off and which ones don't. The left prioritized the development of wind and solar, which has all sorts of negative consequences from a cost, a reliability perspective, but also environmental perspective that is often overlooked because someone smartly labeled it as green many years ago. Doing away with regulations that were designed to prop up certain technologies over others that actually work much better. That is really important towards meeting economic goals, but also continuing to protect the environment. And the important note on all of these fronts, the president announced today, I've heard it from OMB Director Russ Vought too, that for every one new regulation, they've taken 129 off the books. That's the current ratio of deregulatory actions to regulatory. all of that has occurred, not all at EPA, but a lot of it, all of that has occurred, and we still have the cleanest air on record. We still have safeguards and environmental protections that make sure Americans are breathing the cleanest air, drinking the cleanest water, and addressing legacy pollution across the country, which is a really important part of reinstitutionalizing economic opportunities in the forgotten parts of this great country. And so I've seen it firsthand. When you get rid of unnecessary red tape, you get rid of regulations that were put in place for political reasons and not for moving the ball forward on environmental protections, you actually end up having much better outcomes in the ways that matter from the perspective of EPA, which is protecting public health and the environment, not controlling the levers of economic engines or defining what types of technologies can succeed and which ones cannot. So EPA is doing what it's actually designed to do, which is much better for the citizens of this country.
So hopefully we're out of the days when the government and regulators were picking winners and losers. I mean, this is
That's exactly what they were doing.
a huge change in the way that we look at our environmental controls.
And they're getting rid of those water regulators on the shower heads, thank God. Hopefully they're going to bring back toilets that actually work. You know, luckily my house is sold. My toilet really does work, which is great. Hey, Mandy Gunasekara, thank you for your excellent report. You're fantastic. Tell our audience how they can get a hold of you.
You can follow me on X at Mississippi MG, on Truth at Mandy.Gunasekara. And if you want to have a direct conversation, just shoot me a DM and I'll respond. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you and engage with your listeners.
Mandy, you were great. We need to pay some bills. No channel flipping. After we hear from the folks who help us pay the bills here, 60-year-old college football player Tom Green joins us to talk about his journey as a cancer survivor, makes it onto the college gridiron. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsor.
It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Eb Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Eb Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576, or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, this is what conservation and repurposing is all about.
Welcome back to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
Welcome back to Inside Track. This portion of the show brought to you by Eb's great company, Wilkinson Wealth Management, who also helps my family. Let him help you also. Wilkinson Wealth Management. Let Eb guide you and your family to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired. 777 1911. And when we're done with the show today, I'm going to talk to Eb about maybe finally doing a little dabble with gold and silver.
It'd be great for your teeth or to hang around your neck.
Well, we'll talk.
Okay.
Inside Track also brought to you by Essential Pest Control, Tucson Iron and Metal Retail, and Paul Ash Commercial Real Estate, where we make great things happen every day. Hey, Eb, let's get to our next guest. I hope Tom is with us. Didn't hear him tinkle in like sometimes we do. All right. Well, we'll kind of dance around if we need to for a while. Tom Green is our next guest. A couple weeks ago, I got an email. It came on my screen about a 60-year-old fellow, a guy who faced more challenges than many, a financial crisis, a serious health crisis, and was in 2025 playing college football at age 60. Tom Green is a 60-year-old student athlete, small business owner, and cancer survivor who has inspired thousands through his journey. And we're going to talk with him. He's asking us to, he's handling a little business problem that he has back in the eastern part of the country. So he'll tinkle in here in a second. But Eb, as you know, I survived cancer twice, and so I'm very interested in his life and his story. But I never, after going through cancer treatments twice, I never had the gumption to try out for a college football team, even a junior college football team. I'd get pounded.
Oh, I know. I mean, I haven't had cancer, and I'm still not trying out.
When I was in high school, I was never injured, but I was sore every day, and it's a very, very tough thing. And did you watch the national championship
Yes.
football game?
Yes.
Quite a performance by young quarterback Mendoza.
Unbelievable.
It was, I think it was really probably in the top 5 college football games I've ever watched.
And speaking of college, when you see it on TV, you think these guys aren't that big.
Oh, they're huge.
When you're in the stands in like the cheap seats that I can afford,
Right.
They don't look that big. The closer you get to the field, the bigger they get.
They're
and
enormous.
The small guys are big.
I know. And to me, that is because we always kind of expect a defensive end or, a guard or tackle on the offensive line to be big and burly and
Right.
so on, right? But the guys who are playing in the backfield, the quarterback, the defensive backs, they're big too. But you don't, in comparison, you think that they're small, tiny people. They're not. They're huge.
They're huge. I had a guy work for
Very
me
athletic.
that was on the U of A football team, a guy named Tanner Bell.
Oh, I remember Tanner.
6'5".
Chris remembers.
He
Tanner.
was playing the he was on the O-line.
Yeah.
And when he graduated and came to work for me, he had lost, after football, 100 pounds.
Wow. How did he
And
do
he was
it?
still big.
How did he do that?
Stopped eating all 10,000 calories a day. I mean, when you go to the training table, and when I was in college, one of the ways I helped pay bills was I worked the training table feeding these guys. And it's amazing the food that they plowed down every single day just to keep the energy going.
So
and
just-
they weren't getting fat. They were getting big.
So that caloric intake, again, not fat, but they're probably eating much better. They probably eating the RFK new
They were
food
absolutely
pyramid back 15 or 20 years ago. They knew how to do it the right way.
Protein, vegetables, and the coach said, "Yeah, you're not eating junk food."
Yeah. Do we have Tom with us yet, Shay? All right. Well, I'm sure he'll be here soon. What was interesting with Tom's battle with cancer, and it's just so common. He had lost talking about weight. He had lost 50 pounds in about a month. Went to see his physician. Discovered that he had a cancer on his kidney, one of his kidneys.
Okay.
And when they got into the removal of his kidney. And I think I'm getting the story straight. Then they found out that he had ancillary cancers, one of his ribs as well. And it was a prolonged, fight over a long period of time where they really weren't sure this guy was ever going to make it.
Wow.
And it's really, it's inspiring to see. And Tom obviously is a guy with a lot of spirituality. The name of his book that has just been published, 0 to 60 and 6 decades, the Tom Green story of the glory to God. And that kind of a title, this guy relied upon his faith and his belief in God for his personal physical recovery, as well as the ability to be committed and stay firm.
Yeah, the spiritual awareness.
Right. I know when I had cancer, particularly the first time when I had a serious cancer around my eye, I felt like I was looking the Grim Reaper right in the face, and it was.
And you were
with one eye.
Yeah. Are.
And but I found that to be so important to my recovery, because it's not just a physical recovery, it's a mental and a spiritual recovery. I didn't want to be a victim. I wanted to be a survivor.
I don't know how anybody can live life and be an atheist. I just can't see that.
Yeah, me either. It's never made any sense.
All the and I've had tragedy in my life, as you know.
You have.
And what could have pushed me away from God brought me that much closer to God, to the point that I no longer have faith in God. I've got an absolute Gnostic belief. I know God exists. It's no longer based on faith.
Oh, so it's not just
does that make sense?
It's not just a concept; it's a belief.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah,
you've been through hell and back.
No different than believing in gravity. I mean, you cannot believe in gravity, but you're sure not going to step off a 2-story building,
right?
Willingly.
And God's going to help you make the right decision on
absolutely.
that as well,
or not.
Right. Right. Well,
while Tom's not here, let's go on to your question about gold and silver.
Okay.
What's your question about gold and silver?
So if you have, a modest amount of money in your retirement account, how much sense does it have, even by 1% or 1.5% of gold and silver?
0.
Tell me why.
Okay. Gold historically keeps pace with inflation.
Mm-hmm.
It has for the past 1,000 years. Okay. There are going to be these temporary spikes, and then there are going to be periods of time, decades, where it doesn't do anything. And that's what happened after the 1980s with gold and silver. So let me ask you this. For what purpose would you want gold and silver in a portfolio? Why would you want to own it?
Well, you tell me why you think somebody would want that.
So it's no different than the Dutch tulip bulb craze back in the 1600s, where everybody was buying Dutch tulip bulbs and overpaying. The difference between that and like crypto is at least at the end you get the tulip bulb. The gold, at least at the end you have the gold, but you haven't really done anything. If you're wanting to invest in gold and silver because you're listening to the hype about, it's going to be used in all these upcoming things involving AI in the silicone chips and all that, instead of investing in the product, the gold and the silver, invest in the companies that are doing something with the gold and the silver, because they're taking...
That's a good point.
They're taking a raw material and they're making it worth a hell of a lot more than what they paid for it. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'll equate that to bonds. Bonds historically, corporate bonds historically, return on average about 6%. Now, recently that's dropped down to about 5%, but it returns about 6% historically. And people say, well, bonds are safer than equities, than these great companies of America. Well, where do the bondholders get their 6%? They loan money to these great companies of America, and the world, the Exxon Mobils, the Apples,
Right.
the any of these companies that buy bonds. So the bond investors loan money to these companies knowing they're going to get paid back, or they wouldn't be loaning them money. The companies that borrow the money borrow it knowing they've got to make multiples of what the interest charge is,
Right.
or it's not going to make any sense at all to borrow the money. So it is a symbiotic relationship there. But now you take out inflation, which is 3%. When you take it away from the historic return of these great companies of America, which is 10%, you're left with a 7% real return. You take the 3% away from the bondholders, you're left with a 3% real return. So you're getting less than half the rate of return of the companies that they willingly loan money to, knowing they're going to get paid back. Same with gold and silver. They're going to buy gold and silver at whatever. I don't care what the cost is.
Okay.
$4,700 an ounce for gold, I think it is, something like
Yeah.
that. Okay. The only reason they're paying $4,700 an ounce for that gold is because they're going to produce a product that's going to more than pay for the cost of that gold. So I'm going to invest in the company that uses those products, as a raw material to develop something even greater than that.
What about the companies who are mining the materials?
Once again, they're just mining it. They're not going to give you the same rate of return as the companies like the chip producers, for instance. You're not going to see that rate of return in the mining companies.
So your idea would then be, don't invest in the commodity, don't invest in the company who mines and refines that commodity. Go and invest in the company who is using that commodity to make a multiple,
Correct.
several multiple times return on that same
Correct.
investment.
I'm not investing in the farmer. I'm not investing in the farm, and I'm not investing in the wheat or the oats. I'm investing in General Mills, who takes those raw materials.
It's on the wrong end of the food pyramid.
Well, but okay. But the point is, I'm going to invest in those companies
Right.
that take okay, great, we'll use cattle.
Sure.
I'm not going to invest in the cattle farms.
Right. Those are the guys that are getting squeezed in the middle anyway.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to invest in I'm not going to buy beef on the commodity exchange.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy the great companies that produce that and turn it into something else. So that's how I look at that.
So would the same thing apply with these metals commodities to invest in something that creates machines or devices that use large amounts of that material?
Absolutely.
So that might be Apple.
Absolutely it is.
It might be any of the other phone manufacturers, any computer or mobile device
Right.
kind of manufacturers. What other industry uses heavy amounts of rare materials?
Well, if you're talking about what industry uses heavy amounts of like computer chips and things like that, it's all over the place, Bruce. From the gas pumps to the point of sale computers at your stores and restaurants. Right. I mean, it is literally all over the place. You can't. Now, don't invest in airlines. I will give you that advice. But the companies that make products for the airlines, they're making money or they wouldn't exist. Is that Tom? Well, while Bruce is doing that, they're making money in the companies that exist right now doing this. They weren't even a thought 30 years ago.
Right.
We have no idea what the next 30 years is going to hold. And I will tell you that the majority of the companies that lead the S&P 500, which today, there's 7 of them that lead the S&P 500, weren't in existence 40 years ago. The same thing is going to hold true in the next 30 and 40 years. We have no idea what is going to come down. This is going to be the next great thing that we can't live without. You and I both have cell phones. I just saw you responding to a message on yours. I make it a point. Tammy gives me crap because when we go out to eat, I leave my cell phone in the car. She says, "Why do you do that?"
Well, because you're supposed to enjoy your
Absolutely.
sweetie's company more than your phone.
Absolutely. I think that was Tom.
Yeah, probably. All right,
But-
we'll get started with him in a second.
Yeah, but I deliberately, I use my phone as a phone. I don't have apps on it, which is crazy.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I have a Google Pixel 9a. I just bought this 2 weeks ago. I stripped off the Google operating system, and I installed Graphene because now there's no tracking.
All right, here's Tom.
Tom,
Turn on your mic.
Hey.
Hey there. Sorry I got delayed. We're going to have to kind of cut this short. You just wrote a book, 0 to 60, and 6 decades. The title of your book also includes Tom Green's story and glory to God. You're a spiritual guy, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Very much so.
And you've been through quite a life, particularly in the last 20 years or so, haven't you?
Yes, I have. First, I want to say that that the only reason I'm here is because of Christ Himself. And there's not a book yet. That's coming.
Oh, I thought you'd written it.
Nope, not yet. No, I'm just living the life right now. I'm living the pages.
So talk to us about your experience at McAllister College as a football player at 60 years old.
Yeah, it's McDaniel College.
McDaniel.
And it's kind of yeah. That's okay. That's okay. It's a lot of people aren't familiar with it, but no, I played football in my younger years. Went throughout, got into land development, was successful at that. Then when the Big Short happened and the federal government decided that they didn't need land developers and builders anymore, my banks were run out and I was run along with them. And then 2015, I found out I had stage 4 kidney cancer, went all the way to the brink of death. And I was brought out of that by Christ's grace. And once I came out of that, then I wanted to, I'm shooting to play football.
So let me ask you a question. I've had cancer twice, and I've had that physician look me in the eye and said, you have blah, blah, blah. I know what went through my brain. What went through your brain and your heart when that physician said you have stage 4, a deadly cancer in your body? You had already lost 50 pounds in 30 days, I think, at that time.
Right, exactly. I begged the doctor to take out my left kidney because it was just the weight was running off of me.
Wow.
So they took it out of me. Yeah, they took it out of me, and I begged them to like I said, take out my kidney cancer, and they did. And at that time, being once rich and able to leave my family a ton of money, now I was pretty basically starting from a flat line of having nothing. So what went through my mind was the expediency of growing a business to where my family would be taken care of if I left this earth. That's what went through my mind. My faith kicked in. The Lord was very gracious with me. I kind of followed the line of Job in that, I had some relationships that I was kind of bitter with in my family and so forth. But after 2.5 years of the battle of cancer and being on the brink, it was actually Christmas Eve of 2017. I just received my second my second dose of Yervoy Opdivo, and it was Christmas Eve of 2017. And my wife begged the Lord. She asked him, she said, please either don't let him suffer any longer, or please let him stay and let him become healthy again. And don't you know it, the next infusion, my cancer really started dying. And then the next infusion, it was completely gone. And that was 8 tumors.
Wow. Tom, when I found out that I had cancer the first time, and they said, we're going to remove your right eye and we're going to remove all of the bones around the right eye, because that was the protocol at the time. Honestly, I put like a mental image of my children on the forehead,
Mhm.
and I was like, like you've just said, I mean, you're thinking about your kids, you're thinking about your family and their ability to survive rather than mine. I'm just the vehicle, okay? And
Right,
and and
right.
and God is in my life as well. And to
That's right.
me, this was all about saving and making a life for our children and for my wife. Um, I know in our case, this was difficult for my wife because I had to live in Houston, Texas for most of a summer getting radiotherapy. Um, Talk about your wife and the relationship strengthening or difficulties while all this was going on.
Oh, phew. The best thing ever happened to me, other than my salvation, is my partner in my life. We've
I
been married for 38 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've said
yeah.
to people 100 times, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. It changed my.
Uh,
No, I mean
It
it really.
changes your vision.
Yeah, your vision is different. It doesn't tear down your faith. It builds your faith and your confidence
mm,
and belief in God. And my wife's relationship with our relationship with each other had grown exponentially during this period of time, as difficult as it was
mm,
as well. Um, you took
absolutely.
you took some young men at on the football team, and I understand that you bought something for them. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. We took 15 of the graduates. We offered it to 15. The 15th one couldn't show up. But the 14, I took to Men's Warehouse and I said, hey, listen, you guys are about ready to enter the world. You will be the men in industry, finance, whatever, in athletics or whatever. And they'll be the ones that work an 8-hour shift, come home and hold some little hand and pray over the meal that they're thankful for and the job that they have. They're the ones in the future. That's the generation that's coming. So I said, you know what, we're going to fit you guys in some suits. We'll get you ready for your interviews, for your job interviews, and so forth. And you know what, we're going to suit you up, and you'll be ready to go once you graduate.
That is great. What a blessing to be able to do that.
And
Yeah, definitely. You
are
bet.
big boys. Those are big boys too. I bet you those were like 52s.
Well, thankfully, it was mostly receivers that graduated this year. So,
Yeah, they're only 6'3" and 240.
So, Tom, why did you decide to play college ball at the age of 60, and how did your family react when you told them this?
okay, it's always the 50-50. It's the 50% of the men said, yeah, go get him. And it's 100% of the women that say, are you crazy? And I have 4 daughters and 1 wife. So, my son and I were kind of outvoted, but that's okay. We push forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I played semi-pro ball back in the 90s. I never went to college. My father, he had a sawmill and a pallet business. I own Northeast Pallet now, which is in Littlestown, Pennsylvania. But yeah, we're familiar with the pallet industry and the sawmill industry for decades. Other than the real estate development business that I had started and that kind of went belly up. But no, we're into the pallet industry. Everything goes on a pallet. So 1 year into my cancer diagnosis, I started this company. So I was sick, taking cancer treatments and so on and so forth. Weak, you know what cancer treatments are like.
Yep.
So as I was going through the treatments, and I was just so sick. So we started the company in 2016, and now the company's just doing super great. So
As
I'm very thankful.
the economy grows, I would imagine the pallet business grows as well because, like you said, everything that is shipped, it's on a pallet.
That's right. Well, and that's the crazy thing. We kind of know when the economy is going to pick up, and I can tell you right now, it's going to be slow for a little longer. And we're kind of like a leading indicator. Us, the trucks, the ships, the rail. If that slows, then you can just tell that the economy's not well. And we
Right.
can just tell you right now, the economy's not well right now.
Mhm.
So, aside
So
from building pallets, are you recycling and rebuilding the pallets?
no, we don't do that. We manufacture completely new. We're fully automated. We make anywhere between 6,000 and 7,000 pallets a day.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
You were on the
So
scout team in your football days. Did you get into any games?
this year, I'm training for it. I'm much stronger. I took last year. It was kind of like a bring everything back to memory, And as I brought everything back to memory, I found out that the game has advanced in some ways and it hasn't in others. I mean, back when I played back in the '90s, it was just brutal. It was just brutality. You just beat each other up. Now it's getting to be more of a finesse game. It's really strange how things changed.
So I saw a video of Tom with he was going up the side of a hill. Now the video, you should have had it maybe a little better because you look like you're a mile away in the video. But there's this guy, Tom Green, and he's got like this weight pack that he's dragging. Okay, with probably 100 pounds, 200 pounds, and this idiot,
200 pounds.
and this crazy man is going up a hill. It's probably at a 30% grade. Okay, and slow. This guy, he's a bruiser. He is a bruiser, man. I wouldn't want to in a dark alley.
Hey, Tom, what do the college kids think about you wanting to be on the team?
They love it. They love it. There's not much that separates us except for the years that are between us. So we kind of ribbon each other, and it's really good. It's really well. I appreciate them, and I think they appreciate me.
And what position?
Defensive tackle. So
Well, Tom,
right now I'm 6'1", and I'm about 260. But go ahead.
Oh no, that's great information. So you were dropping weight like crazy when you had your problem, your health issues. Now you're
Right.
the stalker, as my dad would describe a guy like you. My dad was a weightlifter, and you were either a lightweight or you were starker. You were a starker.
But this is important. I want to pick things up before we end. What's your diet like when you're getting ready
Great
to play?
Or I just eat everything.
Practicing.
My diet doesn't change much. I'm a high carb guy. I want my strength. I'm not a receiver, and I'm not a running back. So my length of play isn't long each play. So I'm 5 to 7 seconds. So what I need that. I want to rely on my brute strength. That's what I want to rely on. I did hire a personal trainer to where he's going to, the personal coach who's going to help me with my footwork, because that's the one thing I do need help with. I need footwork help. So, yeah.
You need to take us out here.
Hey, Tom, it's been great. Sadly, we're running out of time. Tom Green, student athlete, thanks for joining us. Fascinating story. You're doing great. We look forward to keeping in touch with you. All of our podcasts are available on Live the Dream Media's live page, YouTube, Apple, Xbox, all the other things. Before we close, remember stroke our friend Chris DeSimone a check for his campaign for Oro Valley Town Council. DeSimone for Oro Valley. We're both doing it. Hope you're going to follow us and get him elected. Thanks for joining us on Inside Track. Bruce and I will tune in again next week with our special guest, retired IDF Major Guy Faroche, special operator talk about his experience fighting terrorists in Gaza. That's going to be great. This is Eb Wilkinson.
And Bruce Ash.
We'll see you again in 167 hours.
Thanks, Tom.
You're listening to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsor.
It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And here are the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Eb Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Eb Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576. Or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This is what